Aloha. It is member-supported Hawaii Public Radio, all things considered, HPR1, and I'm Dave Lawrence. It's a real treat. We're here in Kahala at the Kahala Hotel, and we're with the cat. This is number 5 in my life, and it's a blessing to turn to Verdine White of Earth, Wind Fire, say aloha and mahalo, my brother. Great to see you.
How are you, man? How you been? Good to see you again, man.
I am good. Thank you for asking.
Good yourself. You know what I mean?
Thank you. It's nice to hear.
It's hard not to out here, right?
Hawaii does that. We were just talking with Wilford, who was saying how he was just like got that. There's something where it's a blessing to live here. It's an environment that's kind of nurturing.
Yeah, it's really great. You live to be about 200 years old out here. You know what I mean?
Be like a turtle or an elephant.
Exactly.
And so, and it's great to have you. And the show that you're about to do comes on the heels of an Asia run, and I know Marcus Miller was a part of that. There's probably some things that weren't on your Facebook or social media. When you think back to this run of dates you just did in Asia, what strikes you as exciting, fun, good memory of that time?
Well, of course, Asia was fantastic. It was a great, successful tour. Actually, the whole year has been really a very dynamic year, a very enlightening year, a very growing year. It started off, of course, with the passing of Maurice, February the 4th, and yes, he was wonderful, the best leader you could ever have, and I was on Steve Harvey's show this morning, which I shot before we left, and we talked about Maurice's book that just came out, and a beautiful book, and I did Tavis Smiley for PBS, and that was beautiful. I did it a couple of weeks ago. So it's been a very, very enlightening year, you know. Not only Asia, but, you know, we did Europe this year. Great. O2 Arena in London, Glastonbury, Firefly. And what was really interesting, this particular tour, which I'm anxious to see tomorrow night, nothing but young people.
You just transcend, as we've talked about so many times. It's a transcending kind of music. It doesn't even surprise me a bit that you're going to constantly have turnover like that.
Well, yeah, it's really interesting, and we really saw it in Asia. We saw it in Bonnaroo last year, which I think really started this whole thing. Firefly this year. You know.
Is that the one in Delaware?
Yes, in Delaware. That was really great. A great show. You know, it was great. It was just really great. And then in Hong Kong the other night we had a banging party. Woohoo! We had a banging party the other night.
Must be hard to separate them all, I guess, as listening to you, because it's just and talking with Tony, it's a well-oiled machine. You're just hitting so many places. You're going to so many places. It's just it's one continuous experience with a series of segments, I guess.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about it the other night, first of all, we have a great staff. I mean, you can't, you know, we're taking all the credit, but I mean, we've got a great staff with us. One standing here, Tony Clark was also a DJ.
He's got a beautiful voice.
Oh yeah, he was. You should have seen him the other night. You know.
I was watching him cliff dive, and it was a little frightening.
I saw that. I wanted to say, hey man, you know,
you got a job to do. Maybe
you might want to chill out on that. You know, you're a young guy. Be careful. Your mom's gonna get mad at me.
Right?
Because you're going to say, why you let my baby do that?
One look at that video, and I'm with her.
Matter of fact, Tony, don't send her there. Well, don't show that to your mom, will you? No, but, you know, we have a great staff and that keeps it together, that because we move around a lot of places, and it's a lot of coordination, you know, and so we've been really blessed to have that, to be able to do all these concerts.
You mentioned it, and it's a great thing that we should be talking about, because when we talked a few weeks ago, advance interview on the phone for this, the book was not out yet. It's My Life with Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's the new autobiography about your late great brother, Maurice White, man who is a instrumental figure because of the pioneering fusion that is Earth, Wind, and Fire, which you're keeping alive. An instrumental figure because of the kind of spiritual, meaningful lyrics that, when you talk about young people coming to the show, you're talking about a kind of music. I mean, I played That's the Way of the World to go along with the bit that you and I did, and I get choked up sometimes. I'm listening to that song. You know, I mean, when you're in a down place, you can turn to your music to pull you through. So that's not something you can say about every band, and that doesn't mean that other bands aren't relevant. But when this book, this is his autobiography, he has passed so soon, and you handle yourself so well. I lost my mom and my grandmom within a few months of each other in 2013. I was not able to cope with it nearly the composure that you bring. So God bless you for being able to handle yourself like that and be able to compartmentalize these things in your life. But when you think about this book, what it means to you, and maybe how it was put together, describe this coming out now, and take us behind the scenes a little bit into this.
Well, Reese had been thinking about doing this book for quite some time. He's been done with it about a year, but he tweaked it right up to Thanksgiving and his birthday, so it could be ready. And it's a beautiful book written. Reese pretty much put it all on the table, which that wasn't him in real life, where he talked about a lot of things. He was totally focused on music, and unless you knew him like I did, these things I knew about him, being his brother and things like that. And
did he intend for it to be a posthumous release like this?
No, because it's just one of those things that happen. We never know with life. We have no control. You know what I mean? And as always, Reese's timing was perfect. He always was brilliant with timing, and this is a great book about faith. This is a great book about somebody that stood the course, and also it's a great book by anybody who wants to start a band. If you
get the behind the scenes of how it's done,
or how it's done, and how hard it is to get done. You know what I mean? Because everybody always talks about because everybody they celebrate artists a lot. It's great. You guys are great. Oh my God, we'd love to see you. Well, I'll have every record. You're my favorite band or favorite artist. But there's always the part that they don't see, that you gotta break ground.
And you got to work hard, and not every time. I remember talking to Randy Bachman from Bachman Turner Overdrive. He said, we have all these hits, but people don't realize the 10 songs that weren't hits, and every one of those albums, and the times, and the effort, and the struggle, and the sweat that goes in.
Exactly, and hanging in there, and believing in it. So it's a great book for that. It's a great book.
When you think about the production aspect of this thing coming out right now, there's been your Facebook page has been a way to get the word out on it, and we'll reflect on a few of the stories in it. But this is a kind of book where I don't know if everybody listening understands this when they think about the band, but there's a 10-year gap basically in your ages. So it's like Maurice was this big brother figure. That's not just a small big brother. That's a major thing. And so when you reflect on that, if you can talk about a little bit of the bond that you share on some of that, and how his own musical passion ended up doing what it's done to shape your entire life.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You're right about the 10-year gap. That's a long gap in any time, even in a friend time, 10 years. And he was like my idol, my Elvis. And then at the same time, he put me in a band that he was gonna start, you know what I mean? Brought me to California. Out of all the people that he could have brought, out of all the people, he asked me to come to California, and I was 18. So it was a total eye opener for me, I came from Chicago out to California. I left college, and I remember I was in college. I had it all planned, man. I was gonna make me like 50 G's a year, and maybe get me a little house one day, teach, do some classical music. Maybe one day I'd make a record.
What was your major?
Music. And then I minored in classical bass, because I was doing that and playing little clubs in Chicago, and then he asked me did I want to come to California, and I said yeah, you know what I mean. And then I said, what about all of my schooling? He said I'll teach you everything you need to know out here. And he certainly did. He really did. And then when I came to California, I came at a very revolutionary time in the early 70s, of all the hippies and the peace and love movement, and it was like sort of like what Black Lives Matter is today, except on steroids. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because you had 4 or 5 movements happen at the same time.
That's a great way to describe it.
And music was changing. And Maurice was right in the forefront of changing, and he had that confidence, he had that drive, he knew exactly what he wanted to do.
When you think, well, you mentioned that, the confidence and drive and just thinking about life lessons, is that something that you think is a critical ingredient just for anybody in any profession in terms of sticking with it to, because I mean, that had to be, I mean, your brother wasn't just making music, he was starting a whole new genre of stuff. He was bending together all these different formulas into one package, which there was no guarantee if, it wasn't like he was following a model. Yeah, we do this, we release it, it's a 3.5 minute song, it's going to be a success. It's a whole different thing.
Exactly. No, it wasn't automatic. And like you say, he was breaking new ground. He was doing something totally different that had never happened before. And out of that came actually later on a whole new genre of record companies believing in acts and groups of color, and ironically the first now people know us for Shining Star and Boogie Wonderland and September now, but the first record we did was a black exploitation movie by Melvin Van Peebles, Sweet Sweetback. That was the first record that we had done, and that was my first record I did with Maurice. I had played on little local records in Chicago, but that was my first big time record, for Melvin Van Peebles, the director.
Well, what's cool is you bring that up, and one of the tidbits in My Life with Earth, Wind, and Fire that I never knew about, which is kind of a shocking sort of bit, drafted to go to Vietnam, and it's you being drafted, as I understand. Get us into that.
I got drafted right after we did that record, and
you remember it coming? Describe the moment that.
Oh yeah, man. The draft notice came, to Chicago, but I was in L.A. And
who calls and tells you that?
My dad did. My late dad did, and he read it to me over the phone, and it was like, oh wow, I'm going to get drafted. I'm going to go to oh my God, and fortunately, when the time came for me to do the induction, I got rejected, and I got back in the day it was like you got 1Y, 1A, 4F was the lotto, was the big Kahuna, means you could never get drafted, and I got 4F.
What did that mean?
That means you could never get drafted again.
So it was a safety guard.
It was a safety guard, and it was they sent the notice back and said you're 4F.
71. This was
1971, and don't forget now we were raging in the Vietnam War, and that was when the draft was like really happening. I mean,
a lot of protests going.
Yeah, and you were getting, if you had one leg, you'd get drafted.
Right. Yeah, they were taking. I mean,
they didn't care. They didn't care.
By today's standards, the amount of death that was going on our level was nothing like what we've more recently lived through. It was also what we're talking about. It was thousands and thousands and thousands of Americans were getting wounded constantly. The death was huge, and so you had to have some level of fear when your dad was reading.
And then what happened is that 80% of the people that went didn't come back home. Right. They came back in body bags and things like that. It was a horrible. And then later on, of course, then everybody says, "Oh, it was the worst war we did." So I was all of this happened all at the same time, and I wasn't even 20 years old then. I was like 19. It was a lot going on at the same time. So it was a lot to digest as a young person. So I was really fortunate that happened, and I could stay with my brother.
What an opportunity that he gave you, and the school again that you had left to go because on the phone you called it that I went into the College of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Exactly. So what was the school that you left to go to?
I went to the American Conservatory of Music, to study classical music, and I left. They gave me an honorary doctorate about 2 years ago. The conservative they gave it to me. They came and they gave me an honorary doctorate, and but starting a band, you just start a band, man. You just start it and you just keep going, and then one thing leads to another, and you just do what you can do, man. You know what I mean? Bands are,
Well, and this was a special one too. As we said, it was a mold-breaking band, and I like how you pointed out it gave record companies, that's something I've never thought about, if I'm just interpreting this right, that it gave record companies the confidence to not only be hiring more acts of color, but also acts that pushed a musical boundary. Perhaps that record labels were more willing to take chances on bands that were not so formulaic.
That's right. Well, Clive Davis was the one that gave us our big break. Clive did, on Columbia Records, and even in Clive's book, he talks about it was a big risk. It was because he brought us to London to show us off in front of all of the at that time rack jobbers and record company owners and record store owners and things like that. And of course, Clive, it's always been Clive Davis, and so other labels followed him. You know, I mean,
Trendsetters.
Exactly. You know, after he did it on CBS Records, and Warner Brothers did it, and Elektra Records did it. You know, then a lot of the records invested. You know, you had African American disc jockeys, you had radio. You know, it really started a huge explosion at that time.
That's interesting to note the way that the band opened the door, if you will, for other cats to follow. There's another story from Maurice's book that is again my life with Earth, Wind, and Fire. His late great older brother, 10 years his senior, and whose music we celebrate to this day. And at your Facebook page, there's been some level of promotion of the book, but in one of the little tidbits, it details the time in the control room of Ocean Way Studio, Sunset Boulevard. Maurice fulfilled what he describes as a big dream of his, as he described it, when he connected EWF to one of the great personalities of magic. And I was hoping you could explain that, and when your brother had made you aware that this was a big aspiration of his.
Well, you know, he always had these great ideas about, you know, putting on the best show ever. And a great magician named Doug Henning came over and came up with his ideas and brought the ideas, man, to the table. And Doug was a great magician. He actually passed away a few years ago. He was a transcendental meditator. He was running for office in Canada. And
fan of EWF.
Oh yeah, and his wife was a lady named Barbara DeAngelis, who wrote a lot of self-help books, and Doug had a lot of Harry Houdini's books. You know, the great magician, but
well studied.
Well studied out of Canada. He was just really really great to work with. Great to work with.
And so your brother you had already known that your brother had aspirations to kind of put more of a show together.
Oh, yeah, we talked about it a lot, and but it came to reality and came to fruition. And actually, later on, a lot of those things that you saw on Michael Jackson's show, he got from Doug, because Michael and his brothers would come to our show.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. I mean, the way in the promo shot, there's just a great classic shot of Doug from the 70s, and it describes how your brother describing seeing Doug looking through the door at the control room studio. Do you remember that day?
Yeah, I remember that day because we were over there mixing, and you know, when you come into the studio, it's different when you come in the studio. You know, it's always it's probably fascinating for other people to take a look and see you in action and things like that, and in the process of doing music. And then, you know, when you would watch Maurice working in the studio, it was always a beautiful process, man. You know, watching him work and being part of the process too. You know, and at the same time, you know, then having a meeting about magic at the same time you're recording. So it was a kind of a cool thing to watch. It's sort of like evolve and come into view, you know, because, you know, you're working on a record that you're going to put with this magic that comes up later. And I think the album was all in all, you know. And
what's cool is another promo shot, when you talk about the Doug, there's a shot of Doug holding a little pyramid. The pyramid ended up being an element in the EWF mix. There's a wonderful picture of the two of you with pyramids behind you. What do you remember that shot? It's like
myself, Maurice, and Don Marek. We went to Egypt. We went to Cairo, and it was great. It was great, and we went twice actually. And but we took a beautiful picture in the Sahara Desert. It was February, but it was like 90 degrees in the Sahara Desert, and but it was a beautiful thing. And Maurice always wanted to go, you know, to Egypt, you know, and travel to see Egypt, and it was a great experience, really great experience.
Was it a bunch of you or just you?
It was a bunch of us, just about 50 of us that went, and it was a very amazing experience for us. Yes.
There's a new exhibit when we think about this history and some of these great pictures of you. Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, and it now features a new exhibit from you. And since this is radio, I'm hoping you can kind of describe for folks, try to paint a picture of what is in the exhibit and how you contributed to it, how they asked you. Just take us into that whole process.
Well, first of all, it's a great exhibit, you know. It's a super exhibit by a lot of wonderful African American artists. George Clinton, they got the mothership. The mothership is in there.
The actual mothership.
Actual mothership.
Not a copy of it.
Not a copy, but the mothership. Chuck Berry's Cadillac is in there. I don't know how they found that. And then they have one of my outfits that are in there, which I actually gave to them like maybe about 3 years ago, because they were talking about they wanted to put this museum together, and so it's in there now. It's in there now. A lot of people have been telling me about it, and they have pictures of it, and it's in a glass and case.
Preserved. Now, did you have? Were you wearing the platform boots back then?
No, this is actually maybe a little bit after, but it's a stage outfit, and it's great for the young people to see, and then I also have another one that I wore at the Grammys, which I have in the Grammy Museum. You know what I mean? And the thing about it with those outfits, they're so dynamic that you can only wear them once. because what happens is young people like Tony and you and everybody says, well, he wore that the last time he came to Hawaii. Doesn't he have any more outfits? So you only can wear it once. So I figure I might as well just wear it and give it to the museum and let people kind of see what we did.
It's history.
Yeah, you're part of history, and interesting for us, while we're still making a certain amount of history, we're part of history at the same time. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, you're continuing that, and when you're serving a need, because as I mentioned earlier, when you have music, there's all kinds of music out there, and there's not taking away from music that's more purely entertainment, and there's a great entertainment quality to your music, but there's also a spiritual side to your music. There's a side to the music that provides people, there's hardships in life. We all can face one around the corner. We're all blessed right now, both of us and everybody with us here, that we're not going through some of the things that other folks do. And your music provides, there's not every band can provide something for a person when they're in that need. So when you talk about history, it's a living history, because it's something that I think helps explain the transcendence of it too. Because when you have a hard time, when you're feeling down, there are a lot. Keep your head to the sky. I could think of a lot of different songs that they do something for you. There's a new Disney film. Thinking about inspiration, because I saw that it looked like some of the people who put this together felt quite a bit. Yes, and you guys hosted a little screening.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yes, the great new movie that.
Queen of Katwe.
Exactly, and Davy Oyelowo, and. It's just a beautiful movie by Disney, and we hosted it about 3 weeks ago. And Lupe, which is really wonderful, the Oscar-nominated actress, and just really great. And then we have an animated film coming out. We're part of an animated soundtrack, Trolls, that Justin Timberlake produced.
Did you redo September for that?
We did. Yeah, we did. And Justin sang the lead, and Anna Kendricks, and Philip, and we played on it, and we did a new version. And in the movie, in the animated, it's bookend. The original one with Maurice.
Oh, in the beginning.
In the beginning, then on the credits, the other one, the new one with Justin and Anna Kendricks, and it's for kids. It's for kids, and we're really happy about that, because it's a whole new generation of kids that probably would never.
It's reintroducing.
Mm-hmm. And then I think we're gonna try to give a little Trolls party for the kids, like on a Saturday, where and all that stuff.
Trolls party.
Yeah, with all the kids, with the 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, and things like that. But I'm really excited about this film, and DreamWorks, so that's
a big company.
Oh yeah, that's Jeffrey Katzenberg and Spielberg and all our friends and things like that, and
you know Spielberg?
Yeah, because when he was doing Raiders and E.T., he'd play our music on the set.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you know him personally?
Yeah. When we see Stephen, we saw him at the Kennedy Center Honors last year, and he said, "Man, I play you guys and stuff all the time." And then I met Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Heavy cats.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Well, yeah, these are guys that they're just as great in what they do as what we do. And then December 1st, Ebony Magazine is giving us their Lifetime Achievement Award in the Ebony Power 100. So that's good. That's going to be a lot of fun. So it's been an incredible year. Yeah, you couldn't have written this in a script,
You got to feel blessed every single second of every day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's It's like a living blessing. But you work hard for it, as we were talking about earlier in the conversation, is people don't realize the hard work that goes into it, and it's not so easy to do. It's not just a bunch of magic. It's a lot of hard work, intensity, effort, concentration. There have been some cats along the way who you're re-hooking up with. It's going to be in New York. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's October 8th at Forest Hills Stadium. There's this show coming up. Interesting lineup because Hawaii's own Bette Midler is going to be on the bill. Chic, it's a Nile Rodgers produced show. Yeah. Village People's going to be there.
Yeah, it's Nile's music festival he's doing. And now called us. We've been working on this like about a year or something like that. Nile's manager, Michael Austin, Michael, they're great people, asked us to be part of this. And they changed the venue. The venue was somewhere. No, it was in the Hamptons. And it's hard to get to the Hamptons,
right.
Unless
a little exclusive.
Well, yeah, because you got to drive 2 hours, or you got to take the puddle jumper over, And with the Hamptons, they close early. So
is that Forest Hills or is it moved?
Forest Hills somewhere else, but Hamptons, that's it's all shakers and movers, and so they go to bed early, and we probably would have a curfew out there, and so we're gonna do this in October, right around the corner.
Yeah, no, it's coming up real fast. Yeah, I saw on your Facebook page when it was saying happy birthday to you, it said happy birthday to Verdine Dino White. I've never heard the Dino. What is that?
All my friends, see people that know me don't call me Verdine. They call me
like Dino. Reese was Maurice.
Yeah, Reese, or like Philip Bailey's Doc, or PB. Ralph Johnson is Slick.
So I should call you Dino.
Yeah, you call me Dino. Once you're in the family, man, you've known me more than you for a long time. We've been doing this for a long time, so only fans that don't know me call me, "Are you Verdine White?" Oh yeah, you know what I mean.
It's Dino.
It's Dino. But most of the people that don't, like Andre was here, my bass tech. He said, "What up, Dean?" I said, "Hey, Dre." We don't. It's not as formal as it might be on, in radio, television.
How long does that nickname go back?
Oh man, since we started. You know what I mean? Way back in the day.
Was that Dino from the Flintstones that inspired it?
No, I don't. I certainly hope not.
He was adorable.
That's cool, but yeah. But I hope we do a birthday celebration for guys from the Flintstones thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we do that. That's our thing. When everybody has a birthday, we always do that one, right? And we love that. We do it twice now per birthday, right? It sounds so good on the end, and because we give, we celebrate everybody's birthday, cakes, candles. It's like one big happy family around here. We're family. When you're on the road together, and you're family.
Now you guys get close, and you've been doing it a long time. It's a special thing. There's and we don't have to talk about this at all. There's just so much going on in America right now. You can't turn on the news and escape it. I just got back from 3 weeks in Italy, so it's like you come. The big topic is there's gun violence. There's police involved with gun violence. There's African American men on the end of that, and I know that you're an NPR fan. Is it a topic you're at all interested in talking, or we don't have to get anything like that?
The thing, of course, these are things we're going to have to work on in this country, obviously, and it is an issue. And I think, what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to be vigilant, and I think people that are marching are going to have to come out en masse, and they're going to have to be disciplined and have a strategy. You know what I mean? I think it's for everybody to sit down and talk about and really work through this.
Yeah, these are tough issues, and talking is the best way for anything to get solved. There's no doubt about that.
It's a start. It's a start, and I think that's what we have to do from the politicians to the clergy to the neighborhoods. That's the way you're going to solve this problem. Because it's a three-dimensional problem. And it has to be a strategy with vision.
Yeah, and it's an American thing for sure. It's one of our big issues that we've got to grapple with in this country. And when you're in Hawaii, you're a bit removed from that. They have their own issues out here, so it's a whole different. That's almost like their issue on the mainland. It's not really so much the issue that people think of here. But I was born I was raised in the Philadelphia area, so I have a lot stronger connection to it. So when I see it in the news, it touches me.
Well, all the urban areas, Chicago obviously is getting the most in most because more has happened, but in all the urban areas, whether it's Detroit or Philadelphia, we've seen this in all the urban areas. So
it is amazing how Chicago is like I mean, it's just like you can't imagine. There's so much, because that's going from like just the police violence, which is its own really serious issue. And when you're abroad, people are like, wow, they have multiple gun issues in America. Right. One is that one, but then the other one is what you're talking about, which is just people on people. And the way that folks treat each other, which is, it's shocking that people have devolved into that sort of, as you said, I think you said it best, talking. If people could just talk and not be solving whatever it is, whether you're a cop or whether you're just, one cat talking to another. And there's a part of your legacy that I hope you're willing to talk about, because I do a thing every Friday on the program called Helping Hand, and it's in honor of my mom, who was quadriplegic. I try to give back to organizations that help the disabled, the vulnerable, homeless, people who are in need, and give them an interview every single Friday on the show to try to promote their cause, give them an opportunity to be heard during afternoon drive. Because I know that at the end of my life, kind of like when we think about your brother and the way he incorporated spirituality in the music, I want to know I did something that left behind a positive legacy. And there's, on the note of yourself, Boys and Girls Club Hall of Fame member here, Verdine White Foundation. Talk about where you come when it comes to giving back, and how you're associated with these things.
Well, we're located on 4700 in Los Angeles, and on Avalon, and we sent a lot of kids. I've sent like 4 kids to college already, and to Berkeley School of Music, and then we help a lot of kids in the inner city, which we're working on all the time. And every year we plan a trip. Last year they went to the White House, and this year they did New York City, because I wanted them to see a little bit of Times Square. And a lot of the older people that help out, they said, why don't we go to Hawaii? I said, no, that's for older people. You know what I mean?
Unless you're Tony and you want to jump off a cliff like
exactly. But that's only going to happen like one time with Tony, though.
I hope it doesn't happen again. I watch that video, I get frightened.
Exactly. You know what I mean? What was he thinking? So we try to do a lot of work with young people and inspire a lot of young people.
Where did the drive come from to do it, though?
Well, you know how one thing happens, next thing happens, and for we're into it, making it happen, and I'm building some bases that I'm going to give away. I have a studio upstairs that I built originally, just to work out of, but now the kids have taken it over. They're jamming on boxes, and they said, Mr. White, can't we go in the studio? So they've been in there, wrecking the place, and because that way kids have a lot of fun and things like that.
And this is a very special house, correct? That's over about 100 years old.
Yeah, 100 years old. I have parking for like.
Tell people
63 cars, and we have a church, and there where Dr. King spoke, and so it's really good.
Whose house was that?
It was actually a mortuary, and we gutted it out and made it a center. You know what I mean? And I'm always really working on. I'm gonna do some remodeling, things like that. But it's 18,000 square feet.
18,000 square feet. And is that the only residence you've got, or are you elsewhere?
It's not my house, but it's another place.
But don't you have Cary Grant's house?
My house. It's an old house. It's from 1919 or something like that, and it was in the same neighborhood where Cary lived, and it's an old house. Probably a lot of ghosts was there. Rickety, and I live in the city, so it's cool. I'm close to pretty much everything. Yeah.
You have pets?
Yeah, I have 2 dogs. I have one. I have a pit bull. He's old now, though. He's like 15, and but he has 3 legs because he had cancer. We had to amputate the legs, but he's cool.
15 is old for a dog.
I know.
That means he's getting a lot of love.
Yeah, well, our veterinarian, who's a good friend of ours, said feed him anything you want. In his last days, you know what I mean. He can eat anything, and that was like 18 months ago. So the last time he came to the house, the dog was at the door. I said, it's the same dog you told me to eat everything. You know what I mean? So, but he's great. He's still got a lot of energy, Then
What's his name, and then who's the other?
His name is Azov. Then I have another one, OG, original gangster, who keeps up all the noise and barks. And
what kind is he?
He's a little brown, we thought he was a poodle when we got him, but then he got bigger. So I got to ask my wife what he's out.
And is the other one named after Irving?
That's right. That's right. Exactly. You know about Irving, right?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Major music. Who doesn't know about Irving?
And I called Irving when we first got the dog, and I said, Irving, I named him after you. And he said, I like that. You know what I mean? He said, it reminds me of myself.
Right, a pit bull.
Hello. And but he's a great dog, and but he's like 15 now. You know what I mean? You know, when they're young, when pits are young, you know, they can go through glass, they can pull a truck. You know what I mean? They do whatever they want.
They can provide security.
Oh yeah, they're really great. You know.
Now he's a garbage disposer, sort of.
Yeah, now he's sort of kind of retired. You know what I mean? And thinking about getting another one. You know, because they're great dogs. You know.
Yeah, and just animals bring a special thing to you, whether it is.
They bring special things to you, and also to everybody in the neighborhood know you got. Right. So they're not going to be coming, but they're not going to be coming by too much. You know what I mean? Really.
But you care about any of the drama that's going, like now, elephants and rhinos, big issue now with the poaching. They're in an extraordinarily dangerous situation. You aware of these sorts of things? You get tuned into some of the.
Oh yeah, actually I saw that on the BBC in London and in Japan the other day, you know, a lot of it. We have a lot of endangered species, and we have a lot of, in the universe of where we live, of all of us in humanity. You know, the animals are like our little brothers and sisters. They are part of the universe, and without them, we wouldn't have a universe. You know, they're there to help us. So it's part of being aware of all of that stuff, because they're like our brothers and sisters in the universe. You know.
God bless every one of them. And as a final note, you've given us a ton of time, which I'm super appreciative of. You've lived a lot of your dreams. Your brother helped make some of those happen, obviously. God bless your brother for all that he did for us and all the music that inspires me and helps me out when I'm feeling down. Are there things left that you're like, man, I really want to play with this guy, or there's a place I'd like to visit, or I want to do this. There's an achievement I haven't done yet. Does anything rub you like that?
Well, what I do, what I've done the last maybe 15, 20 years is just take it a day at a time. Make everything an adventure. And then what falls in place, just sort of falls in place, because you never know. And when you keep it open like that, it's magical. I think if you plan too much and things like that,
Spontaneity.
Yeah, you sort of get in the way of what could come to you.
Get in the way of yourself.
Yeah, and what happens is you're looking for something, and something better might be coming.
You have fun talking tonight?
Oh, yes, good, man. Today's a cool day. Actually, tonight was actually perfect, the end of the day, I knew you were going to be doing, and thanks for moving things around too, you know what I mean?
You're welcome.
And then our interviews are always great. When I heard we were doing this live, this is actually better than the phoner we did. Because phoners are weird because you got to get the time coordinated, and then
signal.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Right. It's all. And then sometimes you drop out. And it breaks the flow of the interview. So and then also too, your questions are always really spot on. And it's not like an interview. It's like having a conversation.
I always did catching up with you, man. It's a huge privilege, an honor to get a bunch of your time. As you can tell, I love the music. I go way back with it. I love talking all the old stuff.
You got tickets?
Say again?
You got tickets for tomorrow night?
I'm not holding them yet. I'm assuming I can.
Okay, Tony, you're trying. Okay, go.
I'm looking at my brother Tony. I'm thinking that he's not going to make me jump off a cliff tomorrow with him to get the tickets. No. You never know, though. He's living large.
Yeah, no, Tony's in charge, so maybe try to. Okay, all right.
Try not to do that.
8 o'clock, right? We start on time.
No opener?
No, we haven't had an opening act in a long time. I don't think I have an opening. Right?
Had to think about that one time.
I'm
going to think not.
I'm not sure.
You don't need an opening act.
I don't think so. You know what I mean? No, I think we cool.
No floating pyramids, and you're not going to be hauled up and playing your bass solo in the air.
No, I'm cool. I think I did that already.
1975, their debut in the market. The man was flown up in the Waikiki shell to hang on the
Waikiki shell. Is that the place still here? Is it still here?
Still there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we did that in 1975, man.
Did that ever go wrong? Did you ever go, oh, my God, they can't get me down?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like Gene Simmons' A Kiss. I know a few times he's gotten stuck up there.
Oh, yeah, you get stuck. Sometimes, it's always a technical thing, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
One less dude on the crew after that mess up.
I was getting ready to say, after that mess up, he's out of here. You're talking about, exactly. It's
Verdine White, Earth, Wind, Fire, original member and a wonderful guy. God bless you. Thank you for so much time. Member support at Hawaii Public Radio and All Things Considered. Appreciate it tonight, Verdine.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Dino, rather.
Right. There you go. Thank you so much.